Okay, I'm gonna read to you the story of Iphis and Isis. Before that, it starts off the story of Biblis and Canis, which is a story about how this girl falls in love with her brother. Lots of drama happens, and then she gets turned into a tree. Um, okay, which I might do read that story, which is an interesting one. Let's see. Rumor might very well have spread the news of this unprecedented transformation throughout the 100 towns of Crete, if they had not just had a wonder of their own to talk about, the change that came to Iphis. For once upon a time, there had lived in Iphis, not far from the royal capital like Knossos, a freeborn plebeian named Ligdus, who was otherwise unknown and undistinguished, with no more property than fame or status, and yet devout and blameless in his life. His wife was pregnant. When her time had come, he gave her his instructions with these words: "There are two things I pray to heaven for on your account: an easy birth and a son. If fate is much too burdensome, for daughters need what fortune has denied us, a dowry. Therefore, and may God prevent this from happening, but if by chance it does, and you should be delivered of a girl, unwillingly I order this, and beg pardon for my impiety, but let it die." He spoke, and tears profusely bathed his cheeks, of the instructor and instructed both. Tarathusa continued to implore her husband, praying him not to confine their hopes so narrowly, to no avail, for he would not be moved from his decision. Now scarcely able to endure the weight of her womb's burden, as she lay in bed at midnight, a dream vision came to her. The goddess Io stood, or seemed to stand, before her troubled bed, accompanied with solemn pomp by all her mysteries. She wore her crescent horns upon her brow, and a garland made of gleaming sheaves of wheat, and a queenly diadem. Behind her stood the dog-faced god Anubis and divine Ubatus, who defends the lives of cats, and Iphis, a bull clothed in a hide of varied colors, with Hippocrates, the god whose fingers pressed against his lips commands our silence, and one often sought by his devout worshippers, Osiris, and the asp, so rich in sleep-inducing drops. She seemed to wake, and then saw them all quite clearly. These were the words the god spoke to her: "O Tarathusa, faithful devotee, put off your heavy cares. Disobey your spouse, and do not hesitate. When Lucina has lightened your burden of your labor, to raise this child, whatever it will be. I am that goddess who, when asked, delivers, and you will have no reason to complain that honors you have paid me were in vain." After instructing her, the goddess left. The Cretan woman rose up joyfully, lifted her hands to the stars, and prayed that her dream vision would be ratified. Then going into labor, she brought forth a daughter, though her husband did not know it. The mother, with intention to deceive, told them to feed the boy. Deception prospered, since no one knew the truth except the nurse. The father thanked the gods and named the child for its grandfather, Iphis. Since this name was given men and women both, his mother was pleased, for she could use it honestly. So from her pious lie, deception grew. She dressed it as a boy. Its face was such that whether a boy or a girl, it was a beauty. Meanwhile, the years went by, 13 of them. Your father, Iphis, has arranged for you a marriage of the golden-haired Ianthe, a maid most praised and famous for her beauty. The two were similar in age and looks, and had been taught together from the first. First love came unexpected to both hearts, and wounded them both equally, and yet their expectations were quite different. Ianthe can look forward to a time of wedding torches and wedding vows, and trust the one whom she believes the man will be her man. Iphis, however, loves with hopeless desperation, which increases in strict proportion to its hopelessness, and burns a maiden for another maid. And scarcely holding back her tears, she cries, "Oh, what will be the end reserved for Iphis, gripped by a strange and monstrous passion known to no one else? If the gods had wished to spare me, they should have. If they wanted to destroy me, they should have given me a natural affliction. Cows do not burn for cows, no mares for mares. I will go over this at the end of the video. The ram will have his sheep, the stag his does, and birds will do the same when they assemble. There are no animals whose females lust for other females, which is a lie, just so you know. I wish that I were dead. That creed might bring forth monsters of all kinds. Queen Pasiphae was taken by a bull. Even that was male and female passion. My love is much less rational than hers, to tell the truth. At least she had the hope of satisfaction, taking in the bull through guile, in the image of a cow, thereby deceiving the adulterer. If every form of ingenuity were gathered here from all around the world, if Daedalus flew back on waxen wings, what could he do? Could all his learned arts transform me from a girl into a boy? Or could you change into a boy, Ianthe? But really, Iphis, pull yourself together. Be firm, cast off this stultifying passion, accept your birth, unless you would deceive yourself as well as others. Look for love where it is proper to, as a woman should. Hope both creates and nurtures such love. Reality deprives you of all hope. No watchman keeps you from her dear embrace, no husband's ever vigilant concern, no father's fierceness, nor does she herself deny the gifts that you will have from her, and yet you are denied all happiness. Nor could it have been otherwise if all the gods and men had labored in your cause. But the gods have not denied me anything. Agreeably, they've given me what they could. My father wishes for me what I wish. She and her father both would have it to be. But nature, much more powerful than they are, wishes it not, sole source of all my woe. But look, the sun has risen on the day of our longed-for nuptials dawns at last. Ianthe will be mine, and yet not mine. We would die of thirst here at the fountainside. Why do you, Juno, guardian of brides, and you, O Hymen, god of marriage, come to these rites, which cannot be rites at all? For no one takes the bride, and both are veiled. She said no more, nor did her chosen burn less fiercely. As she prayed, you swiftly come, O god of marriage. Fearing what you saw, Telethusa postponed the marriage day with the concocted pretext and another afflictive illness or an evil omen, but now she had no more excuses left, and the wedding day was only one day off. She tears the hairbands from her daughter's head and from her own, and thus unbound she prayed while desperately clinging to the altar. O holy Isis, who art pleased to dwell, to be worshipped here, worshipped at Peritonium, at Periphos, at Paros, oh for the love of God, at Pharos, I'm sorry, in the Merotic fields, and where the Nile splits into 7 branches, deliver us, I pray you, from our fear. For I once saw thee in thy sacred emblems, O gods, and I recognized them all, and listened to the sound of brazen rattles, and kept your orders in my memory. And that my daughter still looks on the light, and I have not suffered punishment. Why this is all your counsel and your gift. Now spare us both, and offer us your aid. Warm tears were in attendance on her words. The altar of the goddess seemed to move. It did move, and the altar door and the temple doors were shaken, and the horns, her lunar emblem, glowed with light, and the bronze rattles sounded. Yet not secure, but nonetheless delighted by this omen, the mother left with Iphis following, as was her wont, now with longer strides, darker complexion, and with greater force, a keener countenance, and with her hair shorter than usual and unadorned, and with more vigor than a woman has. And you, who were so recently a girl, are now a boy. Bring gifts to the goddess. Now boldly celebrate your faith in her. They bring the goddess gifts and add to them a votive tablet, with these lines inscribed. Gifts Iphis promised when she was a maid, transformed into a boy, he gladly paid. The next day sun revealed the great wide world, with Venus, Juno, and Hymen all together gathered beneath the smoking nuptial torches, and Iphis in possession of Ianthe. Okay, when I first read this, I thought it was really interesting about, well, one, the wife just completely deceiving her husband and pretending that her daughter is a boy, and then the girl falling in love with her soon-to-be wife. then this whole crisis that she goes through, and then just praying to the goddess, both mother and daughter, for some kind of solution, and then she is made into a boy and is able to marry Ianthe. But the whole, she's all sad and everything that she loves a girl even though she's a girl. That's the one part of the poem I really don't care for. Not what she said is a lie. I mean, homosexuality in animals has been documented a lot. And sometimes farmers have a little bit of trouble breeding their animals because they won't breed. They'll get into gay couples or whatever, so they have to do artificial insemination a lot. But it's an interesting poem, and it talks about, you know, gender, lesbianism, changing sex, which there are a couple of myths, Greek and Roman myths about a person's sex being changed. Like Tiresias, so he gets changed into a woman for 7 years, then back into a man. I mean, another person, I can't remember his name, but he was originally a girl. He was originally a girl who was changed into a boy, along with Iphis, who also got changed into a boy. I think kind of for the times and everything, it was kind of a progressive poem, talking about a girl falling in love with a girl, and then kind of gets transgender issues about becoming a guy and marrying her, and it being blessed by the gods. I a lot of times think about this poem about what it means. Is it like homophobic or transphobic? But tell me what all y'all think about it, okay?